Welcome to the Consummate Athlete Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a well-rounded, happy, goal-crushing athlete. Every week, myself, sports journalist Molly Herford, and cycling coach and kinesiologist Peter Glassford interview experts and chat through all of your training questions. We're excited to have you along for the ride. Hello. Welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. Peter, how's it going?
It's going well. We're continuing our talk as Leadville approaches, so I'm excited. We're here. We have a great guest, 27-time finisher, Elden Nelson, on the show today.
As you say that, I actually keep thinking that you're saying it wrong. I'm like, surely not 27-time finisher, but that is the case. That is amazing.
Yeah. So beyond that, we're rolling. We have our clinics and our couple skill sessions and different things going on. But I think the main topic today is really around this upcoming Leadville race and what will happen, certainly with any of these like wildfires course changes, but also just hype around the race as usual.
Yeah, and we had Elden's podcast co-host, Michael Hotten, on a couple months ago talking about Leadville. We talked about crewing and just some race stuff, but you two, you and Elden, got way more into the weeds on some of the more like course stuff and thoughts for this year with like potential changes. Mm-hmm. What else did you chat about?
Yeah, I mean, he's 60 now, so he's been doing this since he was 30. So as I sort of like did the math on the episode about like, 60 take away 30 plus or minus, I was like, you must have noticed like a huge change like in yourself and like this balance of experience versus youth. And so, I think this is like a really, a lot of our listeners are really in this like, okay, I'm getting older, but can I keep getting better? How do I keep going to events? What is the meaning of an event I've gone to 27 times? How do you keep it interesting? So just like a really inspiring episode in a lot of ways, but also real in that he is getting older. And we talk about this year, there's not just the wildfires, but he actually has like a bit of a like injury that actually is sort of in this, like, he's not sure if he's going to be able to do it. It sort of depends on some surgery timing and what the docs say.
Geez, yeah. Well, I'm excited about this one. I'm a little nervous because I think it means you're going to start having Leadville dreams again. But
well, I mean, when you look and you're like, I've done one and he's got 27. I mean, you're not going to.
Could you? Could you catch up?
I don't know.
It's possible, but that would be. We don't know. You know what? We are not financially prepared for that kind of catch up.
Yeah, maybe you get a discount after a while or something. I don't know.
I don't think, isn't Leadville's thing like everybody pays?
Yeah, there's probably some gray area there. So we had a fun talking about that. We talk a bit about marginal gains. We get a bit into carbs and his strategy for that, of course. He is on the Marginal Gains podcast as well. And then they have a previous podcast that they'll release the odd episode for still around Leadville. And it just is like a treasure trove of just information. If you're doing Leadville, you should probably just put their playlist on that, and just go through the whole thing over a winter on the trainer, just to try and glean a bit of experience and details. Again, like between all of them, there's a lot of experience there. So I certainly am appreciative of them putting that all together over the years. But we also share a bunch on this episode.
I love it. And before we get into it, quick thank you to our sponsors over at Payable. So if you've ever needed to take a payment for something and are trying to figure out how the heck do I do this very quickly, I don't want to start a whole new website, blah, blah, blah. You can now take payments in a Google form with Payable. It's just a simple add-on. You can be set up in minutes, and suddenly you're able to take payments, whether it's for t-shirts, race registration, fundraising, anything you can think of. Payable can help, and you can find our favorite templates over at payableapps.com/athlete, and that'll get you started in under 5 minutes. And we'll include a link to that in the show notes. All right, let's get into this conversation with Elden Nelson. Enjoy.
I'm very excited today. We're welcoming Elden Nelson, sometimes goes as Fatty, and also the co-host along with Hotten, who heavily recommended him for the show because of his 27 plus finishes in Leadville, and also years hosting the Leadville podcast, which was fantastic, and also now the Marginal Gains podcast. So Elden, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Feel free to call me Fatty, as everyone does.
Fair enough. I'm sure there's a story there, but I'm sure you've told it before.
Oh, before I ever podcasted, I was the author of blogs back when blogs were a thing, fatcyclist.com.
Okay.
Became known as Fatty there. So struggling with my weight my whole life.
Okay.
Put it out there.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, and back in that era too, the domain name, like you needed that one that was like easy to type, and then also like someone would remember, right? We wouldn't even necessarily Google something. Like you really needed to have that like www.
Yeah, it's I managed to get fatcyclist.com back when it was easy to get domains.
Okay. Okay. There you go. You have that real estate. You have that real estate. You're just sitting on it. So today, we're going to talk a lot towards Leadville. I know top of mind for even since we last talked to Hottie,
Mm.
that was a very positive. We went very deep on the history of Leadville. We went into the training for Leadville. We went into crewing for Leadville, and we'll touch on those things today. But we have some very like current events with fires and smoke, and perhaps some course changes that I think you can give us a bit of insight into how you're dealing with this personally. The mental side of a race being potentially canceled or changed. So I guess to start, where do you think we are? This is July. What are we? July 16. So we're going to be like middle July when this comes out. Where are we with Leadville and these upcoming couple? There's 4 races remaining, I think, including the stage race and the 10K run. Where are we at with these?
Yeah, so from what I understand, as of yesterday in our time, and by the time listeners hear this, things will have become more clear, hopefully. But
Yeah.
they are planning to do the race, and so the stage race from right now is, I think, a week from now. So we're going to discover what this race course will look like. And all we know for sure is that it is going to have to be different because some of the most iconic parts of the Leadville 100 course have been burned, right? The Hagerman Pass, it has been on fire. The power line, they've done at least some controlled burning on that, and it just means that some of the climbing is some of the descending to is just not going to be available. It wouldn't be safe to do that. So they
Hmm.
have talked about doing a reroute. There was an email sort of hinting that about this reroute. I don't know what it is yet. I am obviously desperate to find out,
Right.
excited to find out. It does seem like the most iconic part of the Leadville 100, the Columbine climb and descent, it hasn't been touched by fire. And I bet that whatever the reroute is, it will include Columbine because it's hard to imagine the Leadville 100 without going up to that 12,500-foot turnaround and coming back down. That's sort of what I think most people think about when they think about this race.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your feeling is that it'll probably try and trace a similar direction rather than maybe going like I know the marathon run and stuff goes up towards like Mosquito Pass on the
Mm.
other side of town. You don't think that they'll go that far as like looping it the other side of town completely?
No, I wouldn't say that they won't do that. I don't
Okay.
know how they will get to Columbine. I know that it has been a tradition that my wife Lisa and I have had for ourselves every autumn when the colors are changing in Colorado and it's just glorious to be out there. We always do a ride up to Mosquito Pass. And I mean, that's
It's
13,500 feet.
hard. Yeah.
That would, I mean, it would be kind of insane to have part of the race, you know, be so high that it made Columbine look like a baby ride.
Right.
I know that I feel okay. I live at 5,000 feet, and so I feel okay at 12,000 feet. At 13,000 feet, things change fast.
Hmm.
It is amazing how out of breath you suddenly feel. I know that has been part of the marathon. I don't think it's been part of anything but the marathon in
I
the
don't think so.
Leadman
Yeah.
Challenge before. But I mean, I've ridden it enough to know it's a wideish road. It seems. I mean, if they were asking me, should we include Mosquito Pass in the reroute? I would say, yeah, let's make this year crazy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that the finish percentage would drop through the floor if they did that.
Yeah. Because doesn't the 50 mile, the run and the bike 50 mile,
The
what it's
Silver
called,
Rush,
Silver
yeah.
Rush, it goes
Hmm.
up in that direction, but I don't think it does that pass.
Right, it doesn't go all the way up there.
So
It's, I
that's what I was
mean,
like. Maybe they could combo those two, and like some of those roads up there are really great. And there's a bit of trail, I think, too.
there's some fun trail in the Silver Rush, and it is mostly usable in an out and back sense. there would have to be some care, just because when you consider send the pros out essentially half an hour sooner than you send out the citizen racers, any kind of out and back, you really need to think in terms of how are you going to make it safe for the pros and for the citizen racers.
Yeah.
And maybe for that reason, Mosquito Pass should be taken off the table, because people are going to be, cross-eyed and goofy at 30,000 feet.
Right.
I would be.
Yes. Okay. Well, like you say, by the time this comes out in a few days, I'm sure we'll have a bit more perspective, at least for the upcoming stage race, which is, now almost a week away. And we'll get a sense, right? So, and maybe we'll see for you and those looking at the 100-mile run and bike, we'll get a sense of like, what are the reworks they're looking at for the stage race, perhaps? Maybe that'll be like an early lead indicator.
Yeah. In the past, the stage race is just the 100-mile course split into the first 40, the Columbine out and back, so the middle 20, and then of course the last 40, which is the same as the first 40 but in the other direction.
Right.
If they keep that mode open, then in a week or so we'll know what it is. I have to imagine that they will show what the course is going to be before then, just because it is such a type A race. I mean, everyone who does this race is all about gathering as much information as possible, because, we invest a lot of time and money into our chances. We want to know what we can. No one wants to go into 100-mile super high altitude mountain bike race not knowing anything about it.
Now I'm curious. I think I screwed up our first intro, so I don't know that I got it out in my second one. But 27 times you finished this race.
Yeah, and one DNF.
One DNF. No did not starts, which we'll get to the do not start, and we're sort of talking about in the smoke, but with some other factors too. I'm curious. Does it excite you a little bit at the chance that like you're doing it, but it's like a little different and unknown now? Because I have to think that at some point this is getting very known for you.
Yes, I know the traditional course like the back of my hand. I mean, I really could just, cold without looking at any notes, give you an incredibly detailed description of the course. I am really happy / excited about the possibility of a new one, but also sad at of a tradition that is very deeply ingrained into who I am, being different. So it's possible to be both, is what I would say.
Yes, both things can be true. Yeah. And it is part of the success. We talked about that with Michael as well, that like I was sort of like, why is Leadville a bucket list race? Why do people care about it? Why do people come back and do it 27 times? And he said, I think it is that it's like this, that's actually like a strength for a lot of people, is that like it is the same challenge. This is the hard challenge that 27 times for 27 years, 30 years, people have been doing this thing pretty much, plus or minus a little tiny bits here and there.
Yeah, I would say in addition, and this is probably what hooked me early, is it is a hard, impressive race that a normal person can pull off. I am a normal person. I still work a full-time job. I've never done this race while I'm not doing my career at the same time. But with a normal amount of training and a normal amount of work and a lot of intent, a normal person can do this race. And that is kind of what makes it a really exciting bucket list item. You don't have to be ultra technical to do this race. You don't have to be a pro level fitness. You can be someone who is fit, for sure. I'm not saying you shouldn't get ready for this race, but if you have put in a good hard 12 months of training, any normal person could do this race.
I'm curious, as I look at these numbers here, your age and the number of times you've done it. You didn't say your age, but I believe you told me you just celebrated a pretty big milestone.
Just turned 60.
And you celebrated it by everesting.
Yes. A little side quest here, but I was talking to my wife about turning 60 back in winter. And I said, I want to do something to celebrate turning 60 that feels like me. And I was like, what if on my birthday, which just happens to be right around the summer solstice, so I have lots of sun, what if I tried doing everesting? Because that's sort of been a bee in my bonnet for a while, something I've thought about for a while. I was like, what if I showed when I turned 60 that I can do something big and difficult and just for me?
Hmm.
And yeah, did it. Happy to say I succeeded.
What lovely. Now, with your marginal gains podcast and interest thereof, did you go really deep on like the exact hill that you were going to use, or how did you I'm always curious with everesting how people choose their hill. So is there a strategy, or did you just say this is the hill outside my house and I went and rode up and down it?
I picked one that is meaningful to me because I ride it all the time. I'm very fortunate to live in it, basically in the foothills of the Timpanogos mountain range. There is a well-known, recently paved climb out of Cascade Springs that is just in a beautiful mountainous area. So one of my favorite places to ride. And the final pitch on this Cascade Springs, because it is sort of a descent, then a climb, and then a descent, and that's the going down way. So there is a final 2.5 mile climb that doesn't have a lot of sharp bends, is really well paved, is it from 7,000 to 8,000 feet, which is really helpful for coolness, because in the summer it gets hot here in Utah.
Okay.
And it's 7,000 feet, things are a little bit cooler, and I'm well adapted to altitude. And I just know it very well. So I knew that at 1,000 feet per rep for this 2.5 mile climb, that it would be, that the math wouldn't be too hard to figure out. Essentially I would get 29 reps would come very close to 29,000 feet. So that's how I picked it. It's something meaningful and something that actually fit the kind of effort that doing an Everest would be.
Very cool. Okay. Well, kudos on that. That's an impressive feat at any age. That's very cool. Now, the other thing with the age and the number of times you did Leadville, what I'm curious about, I think probably is a question that a lot of times we deal with on the podcast is like, how does this change? The inevitable slide into aging. What have you noticed? Because by math here, you must have been in your early 30s then.
When I was 30, yes.
I'm not a big math guy, but you were in your early 30s when you did Leadville the first time, and now you've done it at 58, 59. Like, do you notice anything? Like, what are the changes?
Boy, I think a lot of things change. I mean, for the first 15 years, I was chasing doing a sub-9 finish, and I finally figured that out. And so, I mean, for a while, there was just I don't know if it's a slow learner thing or what, but just figuring out how to eat it properly so that I could finish this thing fast. Mm-hmm. And then there was sort of a trying to eke out a little bit better or do it in a little bit different way. I got into single speeding Leadville a bit, trying to maintain. And then in a way, it became more interesting to me to help my wife get fast. My wife Lisa has finished under 9 hours twice, and
wow.
she did the Lead Woman Challenge as well. So I mean,
wow, yeah, double wow.
Right, yeah, she podiumed in it. It's extraordinary.
Wow.
So it became sort of a family thing. But I would say for my personal self, just in the last couple of years, I've started having some pain, to be honest.
Yeah. The niggles don't recover overnight.
That's right. Recovery has become a little bit bigger of a part, and frankly, just wearing myself out. I am right now in the middle of trying to make a decision whether it is even possible for me for this year to do the Leadville 100. I have a lesion on my talar bone that is pretty sizable. They say, on a scale of 1 to 4, it's a 4, and it's going to require some surgery and some recovery. And the big question is that going to start before or after August 15th this year?
Right.
So yeah, that's in my head. But I mean, honestly, it's just, and this isn't something that happened because of a sudden moment of injury. It's from a lifetime of riding, and to a lesser extent, hiking and running.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and all those little like twists and tears over the years, and
little
we keep
things
moving.
add up.
Yeah. Okay, well that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I think that's like insightful. What I love too is that you were pushing it really hard in your 30s. You kept pushing in your 40s, but you changed the game a little bit, the challenge a little bit. It sounded like with like a single speed and then maybe a bit of more partner riding,
Hmm.
you could say like, that's that, like a domestique. You became a bit of a domestique or a pacer,
Yes, I
as
love
well.
doing that. And I should also say that Lisa has been my domestique before. A few
Oh,
years ago, I had a C3 to C5 fusion, so I mean, we're breaking down little by little, but like as soon as it was okay for me to ride my bike, and I talked to my surgeon like about this before I did it, but uh Lisa paced me through finishing Leadville like as soon as it was possible to do. So, I
hmm.
mean, I've helped her, she's helped me. It's kind of, I mean, that's actually been one of the really wonderful things about our relationship is that we train and often race together. But
Yeah.
yeah, this year is going to be a little bit different if it happens at all for me.
Now, as I understand, you're also the parent of a very successful Leadville racer. I didn't mention that in the intro to why we're interviewing you, but Melissa Rollins, won in 2024.
That's
Now,
right.
were you also racing? I'm trying to remember if I've heard a
I
story about you
was.
passing her on course
It's well,
at some
by
point.
pastor, I passed her in the other direction.
Yes,
I
yes,
don't.
sorry. You went, yeah,
I
exactly.
saw her. I
Yes, you
for
saw
sure
her.
did not pass her.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, the first time Melissa finished in sub 9, she and I were arm in arm, arms raised together across the finish line, and that was awesome. I mean, it has been really exciting over the years watching as she has gone from being someone that essentially Lisa nursed across the finish line in 10 and a half hours
Hmm.
and saying, you can do this, and friends helping and me, finishing with her to watching her be one of the two fastest people and fastest women to have ever done this race last year and the champion the year before. It's incredible. And
Hmm.
I would say, and stay tuned for this year because she's
Yeah.
strong.
Well, you said she had just won the marathon nationals, coming back after an
That's right.
injury early in the season. That she flew all the way, as far as I understand, she flew all the way to South Africa,
That's right.
only to break her elbow. Was it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she and Kate Courtney, who had just beat her and become her friend in
Yeah.
Leadville,
Right.
a few weeks before, Kate was impressed enough with Melissa that she asked her to be her partner. Of course, Melissa said yes. She went out there, got in the shape of her life for it. Obviously wanting to just really, show what she was capable of, and in a grocery run on a scooter, hit
Oh
a
no.
hit a speed bump, and her groceries fell off her. The grocery bag fell off her shoulder, catching the crook of her arm, and she just went down on her elbow and broke it. It was this is days before the race, so it wasn't even on a bike. I mean, anything can happen to anyone. Everyone always assumes that when a cyclist gets injured,
Yeah, it's
it's
a
on a
car or
bike,
something. Yeah.
but it is. In this case, it was just a piece of rotten luck, like anybody has.
Yeah. And
Uh,
we were talking beforehand, she's now worked away, and I'm sure that was like really very tough mentally, but you said she was able to come back and sort of like work away on the trainer and
mhm.
with physiotherapy and come out like strong out of it. So you were saying you were taking like a bit of inspiration from this, as you face a bit of, surgery procedure of some type recovery, to come back.
She has been inspiring. I mean, she really has. So, we've been lucky enough to have her living with us for the last couple of years, and watching a pro go to work and live, for the bike shows how little that normal folks like me really do to ride. But when she came back home and was, seriously injured and essentially unable to do any outside riding for months, of course, she went into the dark place like anyone would, but then she got to work in a really inspiring way. I mean, she started working on her form, she started working on her cadence, she did physiotherapy, she worked on her bike fit, she did all of the things that were possible to do while she got so she could race outside again. And it's actually been really amazing. She showed us a video uh, of her before, how she rode last year and how she was planted on the bike, and how she is planted now. And you can see that beyond just the raw power numbers and her FTP and
Yeah.
her, her resting heart rate, all of those things, her form is like 3 notches better. It is
Hmm.
extraordinary seeing how work you can do when you're unable to do anything else can make a real difference. It's she's truly taken like this kind of rotten lemon and turned it into some really excellent lemonade. Yeah, it's inspiring. I'm thinking about, as I have surgery, I'm like, what can I learn from her on that? It's like, what can I fix about myself? It's like, I've ignored my core for 28 years. Maybe it's time I do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably relevant for everyone as we're looking towards these like different wildfire cancellations or whatever. Rain, we're getting a lot
Yeah.
of rain based stuff that it's just like too wet to, because we're trying to preserve the trail or just it's like historic water or whatever the reasons are. What can we do with that time? And that's the one question I've been getting asked a lot is sort of like, say Leadville got canceled. I mean, the Silver Rush did get canceled, so that was a actual
Hmm.
situation. Let's hope the best for the future races. But, what do I do? Do I go and I just try and simulate this race at my home or do I try and still go to Colorado and do it? Or do I get back training? Or like, what was the point of me training at all? Right. And so what I try and counsel people is around the process or the journey of getting ready for Leadville and these races. Like it should be worth it. But is there a way that when you're sort of facing this potential DNS, like how do you think about, like, was it a waste of time that you did your everesting? Like, how do you think about this?
No, I would say the opposite as far as waste of time doing everesting. I'm so relieved that I did the everesting because I mean that was my second carrot, right? I mean we all have a race or a event, whether it's a fondo or a race or just something you're doing with your family. You're going to Europe and you're going to ride in the Dolomites.
Hmm.
You've got something that you are dreaming about while you were training. And for me, I've done Leadville enough times that is no longer necessarily something that I have to dream about. I have this huge memory, 28
Yes.
years of memories of doing this race. The but everesting I had never done before, and so there was a ton of speculation. It occupied my mind, and it gave me something new and interesting and difficult to focus on. I mean, that's one of my real takeaways that I'm bringing next year and beyond is that I can't have just one
Hmm.
thing
Hmm.
that I have to focus because the world is fickle.
Yes.
Wildfires happen, floods happen,
Well, even like you say with
bone
age, we just don't
injuries
know.
happen.
People get
Right?
sick, you get a knee pain, you might not do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
what would you do? Let me give you a situation. So let's ignore your ankle. Let's
Mhm.
say the Leadville got canceled. What would you do on August, whatever the date of it is, the
August
13th, the
15th this year.
15th,
Yeah.
15th. What would you do? You're at home. You canceled your ticket. You're not going to Colorado. What would you do?
I would go onto a website and find myself something new to focus on.
Like a new event, but not on
And
that date.
a new event, but not on that date.
Likely not on that date.
Right. It's unlikely that I would be able to find something that scratched an itch in the exact same way. But when you've earned the fitness, whether it is something that you are doing for yourself or just a race, I would say find something
To
that
use it.
uses it. You
Yeah.
got find a new carrot.
That's what
I
I
mean,
often say to people. Like they'll say, like, "Oh, do you think I?" was like, "You can use your fitness however you want. I'll help you build it, but like, you need
yeah,
to decide the thing that's gonna like be exciting and worth it for you." Yeah.
yeah, having some kind of mental finish line for those of us who are just inherently competitive or inherently goal focused. When one goal gets taken away, you got to find another. You just
Hmm.
do.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, it is. I mean, watching Melissa, watching myself right now, it is really easy to otherwise start feeling a little bit lost, right? It's like not even like, well, what am I going to do with this fitness? It's like, well, what am I going to do with this huge chunk of my personality, right?
Yes.
It's not like I stopped being competitive. It's not like I stopped needing to have something to look forward to.
You
Um,
mentioned the COVID year. You didn't do it in, I guess that would be like 2020, or like what did you do instead then?
that's right. In the year, yeah, 2020, because of COVID, there was not the race. And I mean, I had already reserved a place in Leadville. And so I was in Leadville on the day of the race, but I didn't do it. A couple of days before, actually, my wife and I went and just rode the course ourselves,
Hmm.
just as something to do.
Like the full course, like 100 mile, or like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
we did.
Okay.
We uh, uh, my stepson Blake was nice enough to come out, and he met us at the traditional places where
Cool.
crew for people. And it was really lucky that he did, because that was the first year I've had a bike not make it, and so I had to switch bikes halfway through that, and he went into town, got my other bike, and brought it in. So that would
Okay.
have been a
Well, there you
DNF
go. You,
officially.
yeah, there you go. You
But
bet you could make your own rules that year.
yeah,
Okay.
there were no rules but I mean, that was such a weird year. I mean, honestly, that it just, for any of us who were racing back during COVID year, I mean, we went and did it, but I didn't feel like a sense of of accomplishment by finishing. And actually, Lisa and I, even though we still rode it, we both looked at our finish time afterward, and we're like, we both finished over 12 hours. I mean, we've never done that before. It's like,
Yeah.
without the energy of it being a true race, we both felt kind of like, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
why push? Yeah.
yeah, we definitely cruised it.
Which I think is the rationale too for you call them B races, C races, practice races,
Yeah.
whatever. I do think it's hard to simulate in training, and you can overdo that. But I do think that that's a good rationale, aside from, like you say, just not putting all your eggs in this one basket of like, I am a Leadville only person.
Yeah.
You throw a couple of 50K, 50 mile XCO race, whatever you're into. Gravel race, I guess, would be pretty prevalent now too. And then, yeah, you sort of aren't all invested in that one, but I think like the benefits you get from that are pretty high from getting a bit, more racing in.
Yeah, it really is. If you're goal oriented enough that you put paid all this money for whatever your big race is, and did all of this training, if that rug gets pulled out from under you, I mean, it really does. It's nice to set yourself up with another one. And I mean, obviously this was my own weird thing, and not everyone cares about doing an Everesting, but that was not a half bad substitute, right?
Hmm.
Because you can do it that whenever you want, and you can do that wherever you want. And it is something that has rules and has the nice definition to it. And in a lot of ways, that scratched the competitive itch that I had, and that I carry with me at all times.
Well, and you know what? I mentioned COVID because it's like something that when people ask us, like, do you have any posts or blogs? Because Molly writes so much. So our site always has,
Hmm.
I'm like, we always have like 4 posts that. So I said, well, back in COVID, like we wrote a lot around like what to do when no event is in sight, what to do when your event
Yep,
gets canceled. So like, we sort of have these things in place. And the Everesting was that's when we
that was
I had
popular.
never heard of it, I don't think, before then. And,
Yeah.
and yeah, everyone was doing it, or lots of people were doing it. So it might be a good advice, that you're leaving us with here today is like maybe that is if any of these do get canceled, if people can't do these or other races, that might be something to consider, even a half Everest or whatever seems reasonable for people.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth going to the everesting.com. I know that they have sort of broadened out what kind of events there are. And of course, there's the running Everesting.
A good friend of
You can
ours
do
did a running, I think twice, because you can do like
extraordinary.
take a ride down, or you can like get yourself back down the hill, right? There's like two iterations for running.
Interesting. Yeah, I always wondered about how it just, because for me, I'm not a good runner, but man, coming down a hill is a lot more
Yeah.
taxing than
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
up a hill. But
What was your time for Everesting?
I did it in 18 hours and 2 minutes.
Okay.
So
So
it's,
just to give people like a context, like
yeah,
it is a longer day than Leadville would be.
yeah, 6 a.m. to just after midnight
Wow.
is what it was for me. But boy, I felt accomplished after doing that. I mean, and it's not even important that I followed those finicky rules. It's that I did something that where there was a measurement of what success looked like, right? That I had this goal and I did it. And honestly, it was awesome that my kids came and rang a cowbell for me, and Lisa's kids came
Did
and
anyone ride with you for a few laps?
yeah.
Yeah, good.
Really, I should talk about Lisa. She rode about 2/3 of it and crewed for me.
Oh, okay. There you
So
go.
yeah,
Well, there you go.
Lisa's who
She's
you
over a
really ought to
half
have on this
Everest.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
easy. But Melissa came and she rode for several hours. It was a rest day for her, so she did hers. She rode alongside me on an e-bike. Just sort of
Oh,
easy
cool.
pedaling, and that was super fun. We talked about her career, and that was just a pleasure. 3 hours flew by. Zach, who is another of Lisa's sons and who is becoming a strong rider in his own right, he because he is so competitive, he's like, well, if Melissa rode with you for 3 hours, I'm going to ride with you for 5. And and I mean, they did, or he rode alongside me and talked with me, and he is so thoughtful. Was what was kind of amazing. He was like, I understand that sometimes when you're riding, you just don't want to talk, so you just let me know. And so I was like, thank you.
Sign of a good crew. You can tell your family has strong crewing experience.
Oh yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
it's I mean, really having whatever it is that is your carrot, it's nice to have a substitute carrot.
I think probably good advice these days. Okay, well, let's talk a bit towards Leadville. You've done it a lot of times. When you're sort of thinking about getting yourself in shape, is there anything like if you had to pick a couple things that were like big rocks, things that you definitely do to be
Hmm.
in Leadville shape? Like, what are those things?
Okay. I know that this is a topic you and Molly have talked about many times, but I don't think that you can talk about it too many times, and that is you have to get into nutrition shape. And that is the one thing that I feel like I am truly excellent at. Um, I have over the course of many years, and like I told you, 15 times before I figured it out properly. But I understand exactly how much food I need, how often, and in what way in order to do the Leadville 100. And not just like how much to eat, but how often to eat and in
Mm,
what way I eat it. And at altitude, how things change because they change drastically. At 11,000 feet, you can't eat solids, or at least I can't. I can't close my mouth long enough to chew
hmm
anything.
hmm
It's all got to be liquids or gels, just, because I can't miss 3 breaths, right? You,
Right.
you feel that.
Start choking on it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, you really do. So, how you're going to do that, I think, matters so much. So, as an endurance athlete, getting out there and practicing your endurance race food strategy, I think matters in terms of completing as opposed to winning or whatever. For a regular athlete, almost more than anything else. It's when I figured out how much, how often, what to
Mm.
eat, is when I stopped being a 9.5 hour finisher and became an 8.5 hour finisher. It made that much difference.
Love it. And I mean, I guess implicit in that is you have to ride long enough that you can then fuel long enough
Yeah,
that you find out if it's working or not too, right? So I like that one. It sort
yeah,
of like encompasses a few different things.
yeah. You got to put in big days on the bike just to find out. It's like, so is my strategy that works okay when I try it for 90 minutes? How does that work in around hour 6? Because there are things that in your 5th hour, your 6th hour, suddenly you find you are unwilling to eat, and you got to learn how to either get past that mental barrier or to find something else that does work for you. It is uh, absolutely vital. If you aren't able to eat after your 6th hour, you're not going to finish a 9-hour race.
Would you like, do you have I guess you do have an idea, like everything now is the grams per hour that everyone's taking in. Do you have a sense of like where you roughly end up these days? Again, in your sort
Oh,
of like late 50s, 60s?
yeah, I have more than a sense. I can get super specific if you don't mind. I will.
Yeah, I
Here.
mean, yeah, go for it.
Okay. So here is how I work. And this is I'm currently a fan of, not a sponsor. I just buy these where everyone else does, but I like the Amax drinkable gels. They are 30 grams per pack. And I set my Garmin, I set a nutrition chime to go every 20 minutes. This is what I did during Everest when I was doing my Everesting. Every 20 minutes, I had a gel. So I went through around 48 gels in that time, and I was fine. Stomach never bothered me.
Okay. And you're talking 90 grams then, roughly an hour.
That's 90 grams an hour for me. I'm about 155 pounds, right? And, for Lisa, it's going to be less. She's more like a 70 grams per hour person, but she has figured that out through trial and error. And I think that you have to do that. Your weight is a good predictor, but it's for sure not the only predictor of how many grams per hour you need to eat. Yep. But doing it on a regular schedule and making it simple is really great. And here's the thing that is weird and new, and I don't know anyone else who is doing it, but it is working really good for me, is I'm actually taking like 12 of those gels, opening them the night before and putting them into a Usui Camelback type thing, and then a little bit of water to make it a little bit thinner. And I am setting my Garmin timer to like 15 minutes, and every 15 minutes, instead of having to open a gel packet, I'm just taking 3 tugs at the hose.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Every 15 minutes. So there is no time basically that goes by that I am not eating. I'm drinking.
So do you have 2 bladders then, or no?
Nope.
Because I've seen some people do 2 bladders, but
I tried that. Didn't care for it.
Yeah.
I get race stupid and I forget which hose is which.
Right.
And also it's
a lot.
It's too much on your back. So
you do bottles
for my drink. And I've taken care because I've to separate drink from calories, just because I have found that my thirst signal only goes up when it gets warm. So if the race starts and it's 45 degrees and I've got my calories tied to my fluid,
yes,
I tend to not get enough calories because I just don't want to drink when it's cold outside.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So, but if the chime goes off and I say, it is not a question of do I want to eat? It is when the chime goes off, I take that hose and I take 3 tugs at it, and that's all I have to do. I'm not having to open any gel packets or anything like that. The cognitive load of eating.
I love it. I mean, I have a lot of people where it's like, the reaching behind, like maybe they can get it. And I mean, as we get older, some of this mobility, this is what you're going to work on in your time off here, is like getting those shoulders working. But I can see that where it's like, for sure, you're going to do that when you have all this energy. But then when you're breathing really hard and you've been doing it for 6 hours, it's like now all of a sudden that shoulder's tightened up and it's like, I can't get to this pocket.
Yeah. When I was doing the Everesting thing, I did open individual gel packets because I didn't want to wear a Camelback on a road bike. It's a vanity thing.
Yeah, sure.
But on a mountain bike, and this is how I have been doing it, it is so much easier to not have to do that. I don't know if this is like just a weird, dumb idea I have, but I've been using it and it has been working for me.
I like it.
I've been doing long rides and feeling fine. Having energy that is way beyond what I had a couple of years ago, just because no 15-minute period goes by that I'm not getting in, around 25 grams of carb.
Okay. Let's keep going through. A lot of these are sort of like quick hits to finish, but I think they'll be good value. What do you think people overthink with Leadville? Like, what if you just were like, just stop talking about this? Like, what do you think?
I would say complexity. I think that because it is such a long race, we tend to make things complex, and we give our crews so much to do, and we have such a wide variety of, salt pills and pickle juices and different things. I would say you are going to be super dumb during the race.
Right. And your crew doesn't know what all these things are.
That's right. You're going to be slurring and you're not going to be bright. This isn't Leadville specific. This is just endurance race specific. Make your race day as simple as possible, right? Sometimes there needs to be complexity, but it is just a lot less likely that you are going to screw up your race by, you know, oh, I lost this bottle or I forgot to drink out of that bottle or so forth. If you just have one way that you are eating and you don't leave it up to your brain to do it,
Yep.
just make it as simple as possible so that when you are race dumb, you can still execute on it.
Yeah, I was doing a pre-race call with an athlete who's doing like 100K, and they were sort of like there was like 17 different products, and I was like,
Hmm.
where did no, like let's just like what if we like what are the just like the what's the gel, what's the thing, like I get the like mixing up the taste. Some people really like to mix the taste, but I'm like, you have practiced this. There was not all these other
Hmm.
things when you practiced. Let's go back to what worked in
Yep.
practice.
Yeah, keep it as simple as possible so that when you are not operating or that when things go sideways, you can still do it.
And it's funny, Michael's advice to the crew, we went deep on like crewing with him, and that was essentially what he said as well, is this like he used to bring tons of stuff, and now it's like just like a basic set of tools, like not
Hmm.
17 of everything and backups of everything, and keep it sort of like clean and light.
Yeah, and I mean, he is absolutely right. And Hottie has crewed for me so many times, and I've given him so much stuff. I owe him such an apology and like 10 favors. But
Well, this is experience. Everyone gains experience over time.
for sure. And I would say that the complexity has to go down for Leadville in particular because they are making it a lot more
Yes.
difficult for crews to get out and to set up. It's not like you can just, set up this big old camp with, a tent city of your own to crew for your person anymore.
Mhm.
Basically, everyone has to sort of get in by bus, take care of their racer, and then get on to the next
Which I
thing.
know there's grumbling a bit, but I sort of like when the system sort of constrains things a little bit, where it's
Mhm.
like, okay, now, like, do you really need a full size pump in the thing? No, maybe we'll carry two CO2s or whatever, right? Like, and I like when the system sort of like it adds that challenge, just as like, no, you can't bring a whole circus with you.
Yeah, I think that there has been some feature creep with Leadville and for endurance races
Mhm.
in general, where we love to think of every possible case. And I think that yeah, we've probably taken it too far. It's time to and not necessarily strip it down to the wires, but at least think in terms of this is a race where you are never more than 15 miles away from the next cruise station. You
Right.
don't need to have planned for every possible eventuality.
Mm, love it. Okay, some of these are marginal gains. Now, people can listen to that podcast to go
Mhm.
really deep on any of these and more, I'm sure. But I thought for Leadville, what would you run for tires? Like, what's the go-to, like, fastest tire, best tire that, I know this is the most complicated question ever, but like for you, what do you think?
Oh my goodness. I will be honest and tell you that I don't even know. I would probably ask my mechanic what he would
I love
recommend,
it.
or I have been really happy with Conti's and would just, a 2.4 and your pressure is a lot more important than your tread.
Okay.
Make sure that you have fresh sealant in it. Make sure that you are not running too hard of a pressure. It, this is wild, and I hope I'm not telling something she doesn't want told. But Melissa just won, in Virginia with all this Rudy Rocky stuff. She won with her pressure at 14 in front and 15 in the back. So when I meet people in Leadville who are, inflating to 40 psi,
Oh, wow. I
um,
thought you were going to say like 25. Yeah.
but but the fact is there are people who think like back how we did in the 90s and we inflated our tires to be
And yeah.
basically road pressure,
And I think
right?
people maybe think, it's like a road race, Leadville. Like there's a lot
Hmm.
of pavement. It's like, well, yes, but there's also some other stuff along the way.
And we were all riding on tubes back then,
Sure.
and pinch
And
flats were a
narrower and
real
everything
thing
else. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. But nowadays you have to be a really big rider before you are over 21 psi to
Especially with
really
the
make it
with the
matter.
2.4s, I found like a pretty substantial change even from 2.2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say for comparison, like I run 16, 17 a lot of the times, like
Hmm.
occasionally 15, 16. I don't know, like I'm also fairly tiny, but also drive stuff pretty hard. So that's definitely what I've found.
So you're running lower pressure than I do. It is so hard for me to inflate to lower than 20 psi. I feel like, oh, I am in danger by doing this.
No,
But
here's an
no,
like
that's true.
so this that was like my trail PSI. Now at
Hmm.
Leadville, I would have a hard time not going just like a smidge, maybe 1 PSI higher. Like, would you run higher at Leadville than, mountain biking?
I do a little bit higher in Leadville just
Okay.
because it is in general you're doing a lot of dirt road, and it is nice to have just a little bit higher pressure just to help avoid the pinch flats, the snake bites.
Yeah.
Um,
I found peeling. I don't like the feel of peeling on pavement, and there's not that really much that
right.
standing on pavement climbing, but yeah, but yeah, again, it would be like 17-18 or like maybe 17-17 or something like that.
And we'll have to see if all of that changes depending on what this revised course is. If there is
Right.
a lot of Silver Rush type trail where, I
Bumpy.
mean, Silver Rush is different in that it's not like, champagne dirt.
Yes.
It is
That's what I've heard.
it
Very
is
bumpy. Yeah.
chunky, rocky stuff where it is where you can really pound your rims if you are not careful.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's what it's going to be like. I'm super interested to find out, but tire decisions may need to be a little different this year than they've ever been before.
Okay. I'm trying to think again. I guess a question and maybe an episode suggestion would be around radial tires. Has the show gone into radial tires? I know it's more of a mountain biking thing, so I don't know how deep you go into this type of tech and a more trail riding, but have you touched on that yet?
We have not, and I will tell you that the my two co-hosts are way more informed
Okay.
than
Well, you
I
can
am.
drop it
I
down and be like, well, what do you mean you don't know about radial tires? Yeah.
No, that's always been the thing with the Marginal Gains podcast is so Hottie brings a journalist mindset and a real student of cycling. Of Josh is an amazing engineer and just a genius in business and in general. And then I ask questions. And I'm the guy who rides his bike a lot and doesn't know anything, and so has a lot of
Okay. Well,
questions.
there you go. You can sprinkle this like, what do you
I
guys think about
will.
radial tires in there? Yeah.
I'll bring that one in. I'll say, oh, so listener Peter has a
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
about
Give us
radial
a shout
tires.
out. Give us a shout out across the
Heck
pods.
yes.
Because what I understand with those is a lot of in the downhillers, especially, they're ending up to like 28, 29, 30 PSI now, which is
Wow.
like the mind blowing thing. Yeah. Because it's changing how the tire feels and like responds to stuff because of the way the fibers are laid, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to investigate this,
Yeah.
or at least ask Hottie about it.
Yeah. Like I say, it's more like from what I understand, the trail and downhill world, but we'll see, right? There's always trickle over. And sorry, in the e-bike world, I guess is like really driving this. So there you go. I look forward to that episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I will ask.
Okay, well, I mean, we covered a lot there. It was, more emotions and like feelings than I thought we were going to get into talking about Leadville. But this stuff, I was saying Adam Meyerson, who's like a big cyclocross coach, there was a video with him years ago, back in the heyday of cyclocross, and he said, he's in tears after racing. He said, it's just stupid bike racing, but it's everything or something like that, right? And it's the truth.
I've never finished that race without crying a little bit. I mean, honestly, I've finished sad, disappointed. I remember one time in particular, I couldn't talk to anyone because I'd finished in 9 hours and 13 minutes,
Oh,
and it was
no.
sure I was going to finish under 9, and I was just devastated. I've also been so happy I couldn't talk. Racing is all about stories and about emotion, right? I
Mhm.
mean, otherwise we'd all just, train all the time, wouldn't?
Or not. Maybe we wouldn't. We wouldn't even
Yeah,
train.
I guess but I mean, that is, for me, that is the miracle of racing is you're riding in the same place where you've ridden before, doing the same activity that you always do, but somehow it feels dramatic and special. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the why I do a lot of the training, but also every time that I do any race in the moment, it feels like the most dramatic and amazing thing that I am doing. And also, letting a little bit of the caveman out, right?
Yes.
This very nice, normal person who sits at a job at his desk and does his 8 to 5 job every day for one day, I am a hunter-gatherer
Mhm,
or whatever,
Well,
right?
and feeling that like a lot of us don't, are fortunate enough not to feel that like fear or anxiety,
Mhm.
that like we're jumping off of a cliff or something, right? And you're like, so that's, I think, a lot of reason to do it. And I try and help people frame that because that should be a positive that you're choosing to go and do that.
Yeah, embrace the nervousness, the anxiety, the obsessiveness that racing brings, and yeah, the amazing story that it brings to you. And I would say, like we talked about, if you lose one, one race, meaning not if you lose, you're in last place, but if that race disappears or is postponed or canceled or whatever, yeah, it's fill that hole.
Okay. Well, I think we provided some suggestions and some ideas for folks today, whether that's improving in your time off or everesting or finding another race in the near future. I think that gives people a bit of a playbook for whatever comes in the next few weeks. Eldon, this has been amazing, like super fun. As I say, I like geeking out on Leadville, but I like doing it with someone who loves it as well. So thank you for being here.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Now, we'll link to you on Instagram. We'll link to the Marginal Gains podcast and fatcyclist.com. But of course, people can just type that in themselves. Anything else I should put on this list?
So Leadville.fm is the Leadville podcast, and I am doing a little bit of conversing about whether we might do a special rerouted course
Oh, yeah.
episode.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
TBD, but I'm interested, and I know that a lot of other people are too.
Yes. Yeah, I think that would be a great service for sure. So excellent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. If you want to hear more training, racing, and endurance sport advice, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating and review. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at consummateathlete.com for a weekly dose of inspiration and advice straight to your inbox.